There we go. We are live again. Yes, if Kellahella, if at first we don't succeed, try and try again. I don't know what. Actually, I think I might know what. I had some internet hiccups earlier on today when I was watching TV, and it kept on resetting and like trying to ask for my code or whatever. I'm hoping. I was worried that this might mean that I might have hiccups during the show, and if it's hiccups during the show, I'm not going to be happy. Anyway, where was I? When y'all last heard me? Because when y'all last heard me, when I realized when I realized that I was mid sentence when I realized that the chat or the stream had ended abruptly. Um, but yeah, so where okay, well, so I was talking about how there is something where what was it? I think it was a Reddit thread that was talking about the potential of how I was saying that basically all of the differences in the in the elections in like the states, like statewide election results and even maybe district-wide election results, were plainly an example of sexism and or racism. That was that was how I was thinking. I was thinking that maybe it was sexism or racism that caused that. And I've showed numbers to kind of back that up. Um, However, the issue with that is um, the other people are suggesting that it may very well have been, and there might have very well been some shenanigans going on. Certain like people dealing with statistics, certain people dealing with experiences in elections are saying that the split voting that took place is just plainly bizarre, and if it's that bad as they were suggesting it is, then maybe it bears somebody taking a look at it. And basically, one of the things that somebody said was that if you this is being stupid. Anyway, I'm trying to load up the Reddit thread that I had it on, but for some reason it's not working. So, oh well. But they basically said if you could do a sample, like a sampling, and looking at the tabulation, all the machines that tabulated the ballots, and see and just do a manual recount of like a district or two that was an outlier, and say, oh, this shouldn't have been this disparate. Let's go ahead and check to make sure and see that the votes from the voting machines were counted correctly. And yes, Kalahela, I did see that. And the people answering as to why they voted for AOC and Trump just goes to show why Trump is such a good con artist and why people are stupid, i.e., as I've titled this, moron sexist voters. Um, we have this problem in this country where people just believe snake oil salesmen. And Donald Trump is a gigantic snake oil salesman, and he managed to sell a whole bunch of snake oil this time. But even then, there's the issue of maybe there should be some spot checking of the results to see whether or not the tabulating machines are tabulating the paper ballots correctly, and if they didn't, then maybe something needs to be investigated. Unfortunately, currently it's not. Oh, by the way, I'm also on Blue Sky now, Liberal Dan Radio on Blue Sky. So it's social media is basically Liberal Dan Radio everywhere, be it Twitch, TikTok, X, Facebook, whatever. But also, I'm now on Blue Sky. So if you want to join me, want to follow me on Blue Sky, I'm there as well. Just as a reminder. Let's see. Let's pull this up to see some of the issues that we wanted to talk about. Let's talk about some of the funny stuff, I guess, before we get to some of the serious stuff. Y'all hear about the whole deal with Hasbro and Barbie or Barbie dolls that are Wicked themed? That's amusing. Uh, You had Hasbro put on their boxes of for the new Wicked movie, the new Barbies themed for that. They put on the boxes Wicked.com, not wickedmovie.com, which is the actual correct website for the movie itself, wickedmovie.com, but wicked.com, which is a link to a porn site. So you would have had a lot of people trying to get to the website about the movie, inadvertently landing on porn. So yes, hilarious that they made that. You had one job: get the get the packaging right and not point it to an adult website. Of course, people want to go to adult website. I don't begrudge them. Look at nudity or whatever you want, all day long. I don't care. If it makes you happy, as long as everyone is consenting to it, including everyone in the video, then no problem with it. But you don't want to have 8-year-old kids go, I want to go to wicked.com, mama. We can't go to wicked.com. Why not? Because it's not a site. But that's the box says wicked.com. Anyway, so but yeah, but then something else, Donald Trump talks about regulations and he wants to just get rid of regulations. He's already talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, nixing the Department of Education. I don't know how one goes ahead and does that. I mean, I'm sure it's there's laws pertaining to its creation, and I'm not sure you can just, whatever's, sure you can't just nix it as he's suggesting that you could. But maybe some regulations do need some minor tweaking. If not, I'm not saying that that labeling requirements should be eliminated, because labeling requirements are very important. Clearly, my wife has celiac disease. It's very important for us to be able to buy goods and see that they're certified gluten-free and know that that means that there's no more than X amount of parts per million, that things are made on shared lines, notification about what allergens might be in the food that you're buying is probably a good idea. It's a very good idea, not just probably, a very good idea. But that Costco just had to recall like 80,000 pounds of butter or something, because the packaging on the butter did not say that it contains milk. Butter, which is made by milk, didn't say that it contains milk. Like, I was talking about this with my wife, who again has celiac, and I was like, it would be like, recalling loaves of Wonder Bread because the labeling didn't say that it contains wheat. Like, again, it's very important for us to know that what contains wheat and what doesn't contain wheat in general. But I think we all know that Wonder Bread has wheat in it. Right? So I think sometimes, maybe some of these things are a little bit too ridiculous. I think so, maybe there could have been like, what? I think it's reasonable to say, what? Let's not recall 80,000 pounds of butter and do all of that food waste simply because it was mislabeled. And there was a simple solution for both of these things. For both the Barbie dolls that said wicked.com on them and the butter that didn't say that it had milk. If you really needed to make it right, how about printing out some labels, some sticky labels real quick, and on all of the packages of butter, just put on the outside, contains milk. Just a big sticker, all in your face. Contains milk. There you go. Now you know it contains milk. Print a sticker that will cover the place on the box that says wicked.com and have it say wickedmovie.com. That way you don't have to pull everything off the shelves. You can just put stickers on them and people could find out the difference without doing all of that waste. So MJ Dale, yeah, exactly. Butter is dairy. Who does not know that? Who does not know that? Come on, people. Exactly. Some things, it's like, I used to work for a company like between high school and college, and my job was pretty much receptionist based. Like, I answered phones. I did a whole lot of I did a whole bunch of other just receptionist and clerical type things. But one of the things that I was required to do as part of my job was to this company basically compiled material safety data sheets and put them into one homogeneous format so that they could be easily found and searched and everything like that. So as part of my day, I would sit there and enter in the computer this information about, material safety data sheets, which, if you don't know, material safety data sheet basically just says, this is what you do if, these are the hazards of this item, of this liquid, of this whatever. This is a hazard. This is what you should do if you should get this item in your eyes, if you get this if you swallow it, if you get it on your hands. Basically, all the different first aid techniques that you might have to deal with, so you can find it in a nice, easy way, so you can treat somebody who may have, inadvertently put something on themselves that they didn't want to. But there were some that were ridiculous. Like, there was on the material safety data sheet, there was a material safety data sheet for hand soap. And do you know what you do if you get hand soap on your hands? The material safety data sheet will tell you that you wash it off with soap and water. You don't need soap and water. You already have the soap. Just rinse it off with water. There's a material safety data sheet for deionized water. Do you know what happens when you get deionized water in your eyes? They tell you to flush it out with water. So the deionized water, which is probably much more sterile, definitely more sterile than the tap water, they're telling you to use tap water to wash the sterilized water out. Stupid. Now, there are vast many other things that require material safety data sheets that, you need them. And I'm sure that the people who want to get rid of all regulations, like Trump, would probably say that we don't need material safety data sheets at all. Just, we don't need it. If they want it, fine, but we don't need to have them. Just don't have those. That's stupid, because you should know how to be able to handle, in an emergency, a situation. What happens if I get hydrochloric acid on my hands? What happens if I get this particular unknown substance or whatever? I don't know, just random substance that's not water in your eyes. So, hold on. Put the frickin' Alexa in the room again, so now we're gonna hear Alexa noises unless I unplug it. People. Hey, good to see you, Big Hook. Thanks for joining the show. Anyway, so I don't know if that's a full-on fat man rant, but it should be enough of a rant for Nick, right? It's hegemony. The Trump environment is going to collapse. It's already a heterogeneous mess with wildly unpopular ideas they had to deny while campaigning. Good luck with the implementation and the papers, please. BS starts. Well, yeah, that's one thing that I'm thinking about, because they're already talking about, hey, I'm waiting. I need to call into Jeff Carrera's show tomorrow, because I want to ask Jeff Carrera. He had a huge problem when you had, like, Obama was president, and when Biden was president, and somebody was named czar, a this czar, a that czar, and Jeff Carrera, a conservative pundit, is like, we're in America, we're not in Russia, we don't have czars, like, being really ridiculous about the whole thing, because there's multiple meanings of the word or multiple uses of the word that are valid. But now Trump has decided to name his border czar. And so I'm waiting to see if Jeff Carrera happens to have the same problem with naming somebody a czar when Donald Trump does it than when Obama or Biden do it. Clearly they won't, or he won't, because, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. But the interesting thing of it all is that the new border czar, Tom Homan, is going to be the border czar. Tom Homan is one of the people who wrote Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation. We can flip over that real quick and look-see. There you go. Tom Homan, the Heritage Foundation, right there. Project 2025. Tom Homan is right there. He's one of the contributors. So if Tom Homan, one of the contributors to Project 2025, who used to be like, in charge of ICE or whatever, and he's dealt with this issue before, so one has to believe that it's very well likely that some of the stuff that he wrote for Project 2025, the quote mandate for leadership, are going to be things that he's going to push when he's the so-called border czar, because why wouldn't they? Because that's what he wants. He wants that. Totally. Promise number 3 of Project 2025: defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. The United States belong to we the people. All government authority derives from the consent of the people. Really? It doesn't, because we don't use the Electoral College. So no, you're wrong. Our nation's success derives from the character of its people, and there are people of good character who come from other countries. F you, racists. The American people's right to rule ourselves is the obverse of our duty. We cannot outsource to others our obligation to ensure the conditions that allow our families, communities, churches, and synagogues. Don't bring up synagogues. You don't care about Jews and neighborhoods to thrive. The buck stops with each of us, so each of us must have the freedom to pursue the good for ourselves and those entrusted with our care. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. This Wilsonian hubris has spread like cancer through many America's largest wait. Instead, they believe the kind of 21st century Wilsonian order will be the enlightened, highly educated managerial elite runs things, rather than the humble, patriotic working families who make up the majority of what the elites contemptuously call flyover country. No, y'all call it flyover country when you try and complain and bitch and moan about the fact that we want to get rid of the Electoral College, and y'all are like, no, what about flyover country? Y'all use the term. And guess what? Donald Trump flew over most of those states when he campaigned, because he doesn't have to go to those red states, because he knows that he's going to win those red states. He's only going to go places where A, he can raise money, or B, where the election potentially has the option to be close. So there you go. These people are absurd. But again, we have our new border czar, and we're going to see, the mass deportations. However, he does, so much for fiscal conservatism when it comes to the Republican Party, because now Donald Trump doesn't care how much he has to spend to yeet all of the people who are here in violation of our border policy and others from the country, including people that, one of his lackeys says he wants to start denaturalizing. Stephen Miller said he wants to start denaturalizing people. So that doesn't just mean getting rid of people who are not citizens who are here. That means getting rid of people who became citizens, denaturalizing them, and then yeeting them too. So yeah. Wait, I am Jolly. How do you know that thing? See, Randy explained today how they think Jews are atheists who want to destroy Christmas, so voted for Trump. Yeah, I mean, that's they don't like Jews because Jews don't accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. Even though a lot of us know their Bible better than what they do, as I proved in a previous show. Yes, MJ didn't know these flyover states depend on migrant labor. These flyover states are usually the takers when it comes to welfare. And when the migrants are all deported, who's going to pick your crops? Guess what? The price is going to go up. Or the migrants go to the other countries, pick the crops over there, and then they try to import the crops over here, and then they put a 200% tariff on them, and then prices go up. Because, it's ridiculously absurd. Yes, they want Armageddon. Yeah, start with Melania. Yeah, I wonder if we'll start with Melania. Probably not, unless Donald Trump wants to trade in for a younger model. Then he'd be like, "Sorry, Melania, it was found that your visa was illegal, so we have to denaturalize you. We're gonna kick you out of the country. Bye bye. I'm now gonna go play with Elena Hava, or whoever." So, is there a state motto? The contrails of America should be the chemtrails, because the chemtrails are what they're worried about, right? They're vastly concerned about the chemtrail conspiracies. So, see, Jeff Curry flyover. Son went to New York City, then he came back and had to switch flights in Texas. He literally had to fly over Missouri to get back there. Pretty much. That is the one time my mom went to It was a cheap flight, but it took her 24 hours to fly from Baltimore to California. She went from Baltimore to, I think, Denver, to then St. Louis, to then Los Angeles. Absurd. But that was cheaper, right? MJ Daniel, they need the Jews to convert to Christianity so they can rapture and go out at night eating cars and guitars from the man from Mars. Nice reference there. Although, no, they actually don't want the Jews to convert. They want enough Jews to be in Israel so that when the end times come, we can die first. So, see, those pics were a heads up to Trumpy. He knows the pics they have of him. You want to see those on TV, Don? Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, Donald Trump is saying he had a conversation with Putin, and Putin's like, no, we did not have a conversation with Putin. So, who do you trust, Putin or Trump? One of them's wrong, correct? Suzanne, gas prices are slowly going up here in Texas. I wonder if if gas prices are slowly going up simply because it's right before Thanksgiving and a lot of people travel. However, yeah, I mean, Donald Trump is not good for gas prices. Donald Trump, again, as if you've listened to the show, if you've watched the show enough before, you will know that Donald Trump caused gas prices to go up with his horrible oil deal with OPEC and Russia. So, let's see. Anyway, let's flip back to my page here. But yeah, we talked a little bit about the sexism. The New York congressperson, or New Jersey congressperson, I should say. He was on MSNBC earlier today, and I can't find the numbers, but basically he won his district with like 58% of the vote, while Kamala Harris won the district, but with only like 51% of the vote. Like, again, people are voting for men, but they're not voting for Kamala. They weren't voting for Kamala. I think the only big example that I can find where Vice President Harris outperformed a statewide Democrat is Adam Schiff in California. She currently, even though California's still not finished counting, they're at 70-something, some odd percent. But at the moment, Vice President Harris has more votes than Adam Schiff statewide. So, yes, Billy the Kid, happy Veterans Day to fellow vets. Yes, I was about to say that when I realized that the show had blipped and we lost the stream. But yes, Veterans Day, the day where we celebrate the sacrifice that veterans makes for our rights and freedoms that Donald Trump is about to trample on over. Again, remember, on Veterans Day, Donald Trump called veterans, called people who died in the line of duty, people who got wounded in the line of duty. He called all of them suckers and losers, and questioned what was in it for them. So on this Veterans Day, I feel sorry for everybody who's serving, in this country, and everybody who's served in this country, because Donald Trump won't give a crap about the people that are serving, and he won't give a crap about the people who served. I'm wondering what they'll do to the VA. Simple as that. Thank you, Jolie, for gifting 5 memberships. Appreciate you as always. VJ Coda, Kathy Logan, Shell Bell, William, and Isolde Zen all got gifts. I'm sure they appreciate you as well. My mouse jumped over here. Is this Big Hook?
Yep, it's me.
What's going on with
Happy Memorial Day is what we have here in Canada. I'm not sure how you guys call it.
Yeah, it's Veterans Day here. We
Hello?
have our Memorial Day in May, but we do Veterans Day here, so, you know. That's fine. I mean, I have no problem with honoring the troops, but, you know, we definitely did not honor the troops by electing President Bone Spurs to the Oval Office, so.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because maggots say, oh, we are patriots.
Right.
Now, what do patriots generally do? They're supposed to defend freedom. Well, not only that, but freedom and liberty.
Right.
Now, freedom can mean a whole lot of things. It can mean that basically freedom to move, freedom to choose, freedom to live where you want, freedom to be who you want to be with. It can be all those things. But the other one that we don't discuss is liberty. And liberty means the ability to make your own choices, and nobody else can tell you that you can't do that. And that's one of the things that I find so weird about this whole thing is because you get these people who talk about the abortion issue, and they say, "Oh, my conscience won't allow me to let other people have that choice." And it's like, so you don't believe in freedom, and you don't believe in liberty,
right?
And you know, this is a real problem, because you know, you're saying that, oh, my choice overrides your choice, which means that you think that you're superior in some way. And, you know, this is bullshit.
Yep.
You know, it basically is white supremacism covering for, oh, I have a conscience. No, it isn't a conscience. It's you deciding for somebody else because you think that you are superior.
Right.
And it's, you know, it's inconceivable that people who are so uneducated, who can't even tell you what the Constitution is, they can't read, they wouldn't be able to quote you the Bill of Rights, they couldn't tell you anything within the law of what is out there in the United States, or how the government works, or anything like that, think that they, by exercising their right to vote, have the right to take your liberty away from you. I mean, we make fun of the libertarians, and it's like, oh, I don't want anybody to tell me what to do, and I don't want to pay taxes, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but the thing is that what we do is, you're allowed to have your liberty, and you should have your choices. But you elect a government, and that basically takes care of the societal needs that apply to everyone, whether it be roads and bridges or providing health care in hospitals and all those things that, you know, you guys take for granted. And this is the thing. Why I was angry the last time I called is because these people are absolutely stupid. They don't know anything. And they are bathed in an atmosphere that is toxic. They listen to Fox News all the time. There's right-wing radio everywhere. There is, you know, you're bathed in hate, and you're taught to hate everybody. And, you know, this is not the way I was brought up to treat people. You know, and I have a hard time believing that these same people that voted for Trump were brought up to believe that either. But over the last 40 years, with the media empires that have grown through radio and Fox and OAN and Newsmax, they know nothing else.
Yep.
And they've been sold the white supremacist belief, and now they think that they're kings, when in fact what was happening was they were sold a lie that the billionaires wanted them to believe, because at that point they can take them for everything that they have.
Yep. and they
Anyway,
won't
I
even
thought I
care
had to
because
say it.
they won't even care. But I mean, like they use. It's not just. I mean, like one of the things that they do, like they don't, like they claim to care about kids, but they don't. You know, they claim to care about children by being pro-life and protecting, but they're not, because they don't care about the kids that die. In school shootings, they want to protect kids from being transitioned when no kids are being physically transitioned as kids at all. It doesn't happen. But they're making this big scare tactic into nothing. But then when it comes, oh well, how about, you care about kids? How about making sure they can eat, at school? Oh no, we don't want that. Like we had a we had a summer lunch program here in Louisiana, or that was basically using the federal funds to be able to pay for it. There was no additional cost, I don't believe, on the cost of the state, but the state didn't want to allow these people to eat over the summer, so they've nixed the program. And some private businesses did in New Orleans did step up and like, hey, we're going to try and get kids as much food as they need because we want to make sure people can eat. But they shouldn't have to, because we should be making sure that children can eat. And they don't care.
Well,
But
yeah,
they're
I
going to
mean, and
they're
that's
going to
the
use kids. They're just going to use kids to as political tools, and then not give a crap when bad things actually happen to kids. So
and that's the thing. Tim Waltz dumbed it down for them. He said, kids, when they're not hungry, learn better. You know, and they go, we're going to teach these kids morals by starving them to death, and then putting them in an atmosphere where they're going to be taught what we tell them to think. And like I said, it's they're trying to create a dystopia that they can control. And like I said the last call, basically you signed up when you voted for Trump. You basically signed up to be a slave, because once they take everything that you have, you're going to be at their mercy, and they dictate the rules, and they dictate what you do, and they dictate what you can say, and you will have officially lost everything. And
yep. I mean, I'm scared for what's going to happen in this country, especially if the Supreme Court basically allows him to continue to get his way when it comes to what he can do. And the basically just being a singular, again, he says he wants to be dictator on day one. Nothing in me believes that the Supreme Court or any Republicans in Congress are going to prevent him from being just that, if not in name, de facto. So
yeah, and that's the thing, because there are solutions, but the thing is that people don't understand how it works, and they don't realize that these so-called red states have been, they've been subsidized by us that are willing to figure out how to make government work and how to properly tax things and whatnot. And then in the end, we end up subsidizing everybody. It's, we're supposed to survive as a society by, everybody making the contributions that they can make. And the other thing that's going to happen is if they take all these immigrants away, how about we look in the tech sector? How many of those people that made all the biggest developments in all the industries, whether it be Silicon Valley or everywhere else, how many of them are immigrants?
right.
So what are you going to do? You're going to take the smartest amongst us away, and you're going to be left with this dystopian brain set of white supremacy that is going to make everybody's lives more miserable. The other thing was, I noticed that afterwards, I went and looked at the comments afterwards on the video, and I noticed Adlo Him chimed in.
Oh yeah.
And boy, for a guy who claims to be really Christian, he said the cruelest things ever. and you want to call yourself out. He definitely did it.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't believe the stuff that he said. He said,
Oh, people telling
"Oh,
themselves all the time when it comes to what they're doing is unfortunately the anonymity of the internet emboldens a lot of people who wouldn't be so brave in person. Kind of like, Nick Fuentes and how he was sitting there cheering his sexist garbage about your body my choice, and now he's been doxxed, and now people have been, threatening to show up at his house. He had to change his phone number because people were calling his phone number. And I've heard he fled to his mommy's house. So yeah, Nick Fuentes is a big old bully. But then when a push comes to shove, he runs back to mommy. So oddly enough, he says something sexist, but who does he run to? A woman for protection. So
well, yeah, exactly." And that's the thing, right? These people don't operate on the realm of reality, and they only go back to it when push comes to shove, and they realize, oh, you mean there's rules we have to follow?
yeah,
You know, yeah, I'm really disheartened about what's coming. I don't. I wish I had the ability to help more than I could, but the thing is that Canada is going to suffer from this as well,
right,
because we're going to get hit with the tariffs. That means, lots of cars are made up in Canada as well, which means that everything that comes from Canada, whether it be lumber, aluminum, natural gas, hydroelectricity from the East Coast, all that stuff is going to be affected, and I just don't understand why this had to happen, and the only explanation I have is that you guys live in a toxic atmosphere that teaches nothing but lies and hate. And this Christian conscience is basically a cover for white supremacism.
yep,
And the sooner we learn that and figure it out and call it out for what it is, the better off we will be. Because the thing is that we haven't taught this stuff in history. And the thing is that they elect the white supremacists and put them in the government, and then they say, oh, well, the states decide what history we teach and what truths we teach and whatnot. And, as a result, they can lie till the cows come home.
yep.
And there's nothing that you can do to defeat it unless you're going to take your kid and homeschool them and teach them the truth. And, for most people, that's an impossibility.
Right, and usually the homeschooling people typically came. At least the idea was, or at least the people's belief was that if you were homeschooling, you're most likely a conservative person. But now, who are you going to think is going to homeschool now, especially in the red states? When if Donald Trump is able to dismantle the Department of Education, I don't know how he does that without acting without the full Congress acting in helping him, because we'll go over that in a second. But I also got to apologize, I guess, to the people in the chat. I kind of knew that this would happen, that the trolls would be coming in today, simply because of the fact that I put Nick Fuentes in the title of the show, because I was going to pick on Nick Fuentes. Yeah. So I knew that the hits were going to start coming in, but it is what it is. Well, but again, remember the
he got caught twice, right, with gay porn on the computer screen behind him when he was doing his podcast, right?
Who did? Nick Fuentes?
Fuentes, yeah, apparently. At least that's what I heard on the Tony Michaels podcast there. So
I wouldn't be surprised. You have, again, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. They'll bash LGBTQA folks all night long because they're afraid to admit that they actually are gay or bisexual or whatever. So
I have one other question. Do you think there's going to be a mass exodus to the blue states? because
I don't know how
I
much of a
I
mass
don't
exodus
see.
there could be. I mean, people's ability to move. Like, for example, I probably are of an example of somebody who might be able to do all that, but still, the ability me being able to do all that would require me a I still have to sell my mother-in-law's house. B, I'd have to like have big yard sales to sell most of my stuff. I'd have to sell my house, and then we'd have to find a place to move to. And if that and all that depends on whether or not my work would be okay, even though I am 100% remote. If my work would be okay with me not being in New Orleans while one of their offices is in New Orleans. So, I don't think rich people may. I mean, there are a lot of rich people who already claim residence in other places. Like I think we were talking about how on a previous show that millionaires, actors claim their residence in Wyoming for cheaper property taxes or something like that, or I don't know. Like there's one um, town in Wyoming that I think is in and of itself very liberal because all the Hollywood types moved there and claim residence there. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. You have to have money to be able to go, or you
right,
have
I
to
mean
be
you have a lot
on
of
the
people that are
verge of
poor, impoverished, lower class, working class type folks. There's no, but there's not going to be an ability to be. They don't have. They're not mobile like everyone else. So while moving to the blue states is something that's privileged for that the privileged few could be able to take advantage of, and when you do that, you're basically
Yeah.
leaving the other folks that behind in an even shittier state because the state is now even less liberal and leftist than it was before. What we probably should do is we should start flooding the red states with blue people and trying to take over that way because it wouldn't take that many people moving to Wyoming to flip Wyoming, for example. It wouldn't take that many people moving to all the other states to flip those other states. You know, maybe give up on
Yeah.
who knows, maybe give up on Texas and all the liberal people could move to all the other areas or something like that. I don't know. But it's a lot of people talk a lot of talk and say at the end of the day, I don't see that many people moving. So
Yeah. We're like holding our breath here as well, wondering how many of you guys are going to jump ship and move up to Canada. And
right,
I mean, we already have a housing crisis here as well, so it's not like there's a lot to
right.
offer unless you want to live out in the sticks somewhere and retire or something. But outside of that, you know, but this is this is not going to just affect Canada and Mexico. It's going to affect the whole world because the U.S. will no longer be seen as a safe place to exchange technology, data, intelligence. Because you'll be basically, if you tell Trump anything, he's going to whisper it into Putin's ear,
Right.
and uh, I just that's my biggest worry is that he's going to turn the U.S. into an isolationist state and say, oh, Putin and all the bad actors go to town, do whatever you want.
Yep.
The U.S.
Oh,
will not
fear
step
for
in and
I fear
defend
for the people of
anybody.
Ukraine. I feel for the people of Poland. Anybody who lives on the eastern side of NATO. Y'all, they're problematic. I mean, they're in trouble. And I don't know what can be done because we decided to elect somebody who
Well,
would bend over backwards or forwards for Putin however he wants it. So
I I made a suggestion a while back. I said arm NATO as well as Ukraine as well as Taiwan, and Biden could just simply say, you know what, give them a nuclear weapon, and that way the price of winning is going to be that you're going to be in a nuclear holocaust, because at this point that's what Putin has been holding over everybody else. And the thing is we don't know whether his nukes work or not, but we do know ours do.
Right.
And, if it came down to it, that's as effective a deterrent as anything out there. I mean, why do you think Israel has been on the map for so long? Because everybody says, yeah, they probably have a nuclear weapon, and if they
And
really
it's
get
probably
pissed
in a
off,
sub. It's probably in a submarine, so they can launch it even if Israel goes poof. Um, but one of the things that, although one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, I didn't realize, I think until sometime last year, was the fact that a lot of the nuclear weapons that we have nowadays are fusion bombs, and as a fusion bomb is not going to cause the fallout that the old style fission bombs would have. So, yeah, it would suck for the people who get blasted, of course, but you're not going to have the ongoing, you know, issues. Now, if you have a terrorist state like Iran who wants to take, fissionable material and turn it into a suitcase nuke and purposely cause, fallout happening with a conventional bomb exploding the nuclear waste all over the place, then yeah, that can obviously happen. But a lot of the times, when people think of,
well,
dropping a nuclear weapon, it's not going to mean that a giant nuclear cloud is going to be floating all over the planet now because with all the fallout. So, and I got this from Neil deGrasse
yeah,
Tyson, so it's not something I'm just pulling out of my butt. So,
yeah, no, I understand. I've seen that as well. But the thing is that Russia has pretty much initiated an act of war because we ended up changing our rules and saying that no, nothing comes into Canada now unless we can officially make sure that these people that are trying to import stuff into Canada are who they say they are, because we found out that they were going to put bombs on planes headed
right,
to Canada and that they were going to blow shit up. And this was going to be in retaliation for us supporting NATO and Ukraine. And at this point, I think that they have pretty much, attacked or attempted to attack NATO countries because we're part of NATO as well.
right.
I mean, I don't know where we go with this anymore because we talk big and we carry a big stick, but we never fucking use it.
Well, that's
The thing.
and the problem is we elected somebody who's not going to use the big stick against his big buddy Putin as well. So Putin's going to feel like he can get away with anything at this point. And I'm trying to. It's hard to try and find the positives and try, especially after this close after the election. It's hard to sit here and try and say, oh, everything's going to be okay, because I don't believe that everything's going to. I think it's going to suck for the next 4 years. I would love to be wrong, but I wasn't wrong the last time, and I don't think I'm going to be wrong this time. All of our concerns, I believe, are super. I have one person who I know who is a conservative person who, after I posted a few things on Facebook, she was like, "Don't believe everything you read." I'm like, well, I don't believe everything that I read, first of all, and I take the time to study things and understand things so that I know them better. But on the other hand, conservatives don't want to believe anything that they read, and they want to just listen to Donald and do what they say. It's almost like akin to their view on Christianity. They'll just listen to the people who preach about Christianity as to what they say it is. Meanwhile, they don't read the Bible themselves. So,
Well, that's just it. The disinformation is at a record level. I mean, you used to be able to go on and go to these information forums and these, and you used to be able to find stuff and learn stuff all the time on the internet. Now,
right,
you literally, I would say close to 2/3 of it now on the internet, if you did a search, is bullshit. Because we allowed it. We said, oh, freedom of speech. It's not freedom of speech. It's freedom to lie.
right.
And that's the thing. There are no consequences right now for lying. And that, I think, is the biggest problem that we have, is that we allowed this. We
Right.
said, they'll learn that it's the improper thing to do, or that they have a conscience. And the thing is that they don't have a conscience. What they have is a supremacist mind thought, and they think that they're superior to other people and that they can get away with it until
Yep.
somebody goes and actually ends up confronting them and implementing consequences. And we've let it fall to the point now where society is, we have the intellectuals and then we have the sheep who believe anything that's told to them.
Yep.
And
And
it really
intellectualism
is
is
disheartening.
seen as a bad thing amongst the sheep. The sheep vote for the sheep voted for just the more loftier one of their own, the big sheep. They it's it's really sad how people complain about intellectuals and elites. I want my president to be an intellectual. I want my president to be an elite person. I want my president to be, up there, knowledgeable about things, and not just knowledgeable, but wise about, when to get information from other people as well. That's what we should strive for, not MAGA von Schitz's pants. But we're going to be stuck with MAGA
Well,
von Schitz's
look at
pants for as long as
Germany.
he's alive.
Well, look at Germany's old leader. I mean, she had a PhD in
Right.
what was it? I forget, biochemistry.
Something like
I
that.
mean, she was a really, really educated person and understood the ways in which the world worked. And every time she walked into the room, it was quite obvious. Trump was the idiot in the room.
Right.
It was she knew far more than he ever would, and she also, and you're trying to negotiate with a con man who is always looking for the upper hand, no
Pretty
matter what.
much.
And he's playing pretend to see if there's some angle that he can use against you. And it's just so frustrating. It really is, because politics has been corrupted to the point where, unless you have a civilized society like the Scandinavian countries, where they went and they took their natural resources and then they made it a public domain asset that basically funds all their social services and everything else, whether it be the pension fund, the health care fund, the educational fund, the housing fund, and call it socialism. I call it
Right.
human decency, where everybody is looked after, and you do what's in the best interest of everybody. And I don't see that happening in the U.S. anymore.
That's
That's
unfortunate.
why. Anyway, I don't know. I enjoy listening to you and talking with you, Dan. It gives me heart that there are really good people in the U.S., but you are unfortunately outnumbered by some of the shittiest, stupidest people on the planet who, thank God for Velcro, because I don't think half of them could tie their shoelaces. I
Yeah.
mean,
Pretty much. I do appreciate the sport. I appreciate when you call in. I mean, it's always you're always giving good content and good opinions, and I mean it helps that we agree on a lot of things too. But look, man, I want to thank you very much, and hang in there up there. We'll try and keep fighting the
I
good fight,
will,
and
and you
and
guys
that's
as well.
it's why I ended the
You
thing with
guys have a lot of.
why I end the show intro now with the resistance starts now, because we have to start resisting and off now and off into everything that he tries to shove down our throats, because otherwise it's going to be more brutal than it could be.
Okay, well, listen, I really care about you guys. I really wish you guys had done the right thing, but and I think Tara Dublin this morning said it. She said, "What's the harm in doing a recount? Because something seems off."
That's
You
what I
know,
said too. I mean,
and I mean,
talked about that earlier. They're, especially in some in the really oddball areas, just do a test to see what's going on in those counties, why there is as bad, or why there was the discrepancy we weren't expecting to see. See if the votes really were that way, or if there is an error in the code. Because if there's an error in the
yeah.
code, then perhaps things need to be recounted. So
Well, yeah, there's that, and then the other thing is, I mean, you should be able to have a receipt and say, okay, my vote was this, and this was the whatever number vote for said candidate. So that way, if it comes down to, the citizenry can basically do an audit based on the paper receipt that was there, because that way you can say, okay, let's go and do it, as opposed to, the other way, which is to take someone else's word for it. I mean, I don't know. Anyway,
well, thank you very much for calling in.
keep
You're
up the
always
good.
welcome to call in, and you have a good rest of your night up there in the great wide open north.
Yeah, you too.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Always a joy. Bye.
Bye. All right, that was Big Hook. Again, good comments on the show. Let me respond to Ranger Gooseman over there on Twitch. I haven't see our ancestors left Europe because of our religious persecution. It seems like maggots want to use religion to control us once again. Absolutely. Makes no sense that Texas is red while most of the big cities are blue. I mean, problem is that, like, when you have gerrymandering like they do in Texas, they take Austin, for example. They carve Austin up into pieces of pie, and then they shove each district and fill other districts, those districts, with more conservatives and maybe some people who are not citizens, to allow the conservatives to have the plurality of the votes. And meanwhile, even though Austin is completely a blue city, their congressional representation is for naught. So then when you end up having things like congressional elections, these people are like, well, I'm not going to win, so therefore why should I show up? And that's a problem on the voters, because you should always be voting every single election, regardless of whether or not you think you can win or not, because then that's going to get the true numbers out there. But because of the way the electoral college works, because of the way that gerrymandering works to disenfranchise people, less people show up, and as such, people like Ted Cruz are able to win re-election again and again and again because of it, which sucks. See, Michael Hunt said something about, I think Michael Hunt said something about in the YouTube chat about putting undocumented folks in red states. No, the red states were trying to move the undocumented folks to the blue states, and I was like, let's take them. By all means, let's take the undocumented folks. Let's put them in all the blue states, because when it comes time to do the census in 2030, guess what? We're going to have more population in those states there, and then when we reapportion the states, we'll get more seats, because for some reason we're beholden to sticking with the stupid 438 number, if you count the DC reps or DC representation or whatever, or the DC Electoral College, but 435 otherwise. Why not expand the number of seats in the House to make sure that we get an adequate apportionment based on what the founders truly wanted, and B, that should be something that encourages the conservatives along, right? If it's quote the founders, cite what the founders did, that they always seem to like that, right? But then we would be able to also pull the same shenanigans that they're doing. Look, I don't like gerrymandering, but don't hate the player, hate the game. So if they're going to gerrymander, we should gerrymander too. We should gerrymander right back and do it better than them. The fact that they're better at it than us means that we're not trying, because most of them are mind-numbingly dumb and shouldn't know how to do that. But yeah, I think Josh in the chat was right, and saying that, when conservatives do use those, undocumented folks, they complain and whine and bitch and moan about them. But then guess what? They use them to their advantage. They're more than happy to draw a bunch of undocumented, or not even undocumented, a bunch of resident aliens or other folks that are here legally but not citizens, and they're more than happy to draw them into districts to keep their minority leads. So, see, Biden should make a new law where all Trump's phone calls are broadcast live on the internet. That would be hilarious for everyone else, that is. Unfortunately, he can't make a new law because the House of Representatives would not go for it because currently they control the House, which sucks. See, Nick Rich, I'm getting followers on Blue Sky from Sparklers and unknown folks too. 3 while watching Liberal Dan tonight already. And if, again, make sure to follow me. And I'm over there, Liberal Dan Radio, one word. Trouble is, you have the courts cock-blocking you, pretty much. And Trump got to name a bunch of people to the court, and he'll get to do it again. Why? Because we don't take the ability to nominate people to the Supreme Court serious enough. We don't take that idea serious enough. All right, let's see. Ranger Gooseman again. Just got vaccinated today. We have to try and outlive the MAGAs. Yes. EU's going to have to band together and say screw the U.S. Unfortunately, well, that's one of the things I talked about on the other show, on the other episode, or I think last week, was the fact that I'm concerned over the idea that, if we refuse to support Ukraine because we have a stupid idiot and Putin shill in the White House, that means that the EU and NATO is going to have to stand up and provide the arms to Putin. And when they do that, Putin's going to see that as aggression from NATO, and then it's going to escalate, and that has the bigger escalation, a chance of escalating in the World War III than anything we're doing. Because again, Putin knows that he can't mess with us because we have the biggest, strongest military in the world with the most might out of everything. The right tries to lie about our Navy and say, oh, the Chinese Navy is bigger, but they're counting actual hulls of ships. So a little dinghy that's off the coast, doing a little patrol boating in the harbor is considered the same thing as an aircraft carrier when it comes to hull count. So, one of our carrier groups, one of my military friends told me that one of our carrier groups in the United States has more firepower than the rest of the world's navies combined, and we have at least 8. So, yeah, our military is pretty darn strong, and you don't want to mess with it, but Putin's no longer going to have to fear about us messing with them because, again, Trump's beholden to him. Let's see what else. For now, unless Trump does what he said he was going to do and take us out of NATO, I'm not a learned person, but my morals tell me the difference between right and wrong. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take much to know right and wrong and figure out right and wrong. But for some reason, these people's moral compasses are absolutely, completely screwy. Let's remember our ancestors were outnumbered, but we still won. We need to find that again. Our Navy outweighs any other country. Yep, exactly. So I've avoided all the doom of who he's going to try and put in government office. It's too depressing. Well, I mean, I'm going to talk about it a little bit because, again, we talked about the fact that, Tom whatchamacallit? Tom Homan. Tom's a homan, and he's a former police officer, immigration official, and political commentator who served during the Obama administration and the first Trump administration. He served as acting director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement from January 30th, 2017 to June 29th, 2018, and now he's going to be in charge again. Because Donald Trump feels that he's a loyalist, so he's going to put loyalists where he wants them to, and he's going to be in charge of the mass deportation starting on day 1. So, yeah, and of course, again, he was involved in Project 2025. So, all right, so back to the Department of Education. We're going to talk about that a smidge. Trump wants to get rid of the Department of Education. I don't know how one gets rid of, hey, Teresa, good to see you, the Department of Education. Let's see, in October, Department of Education has been around for a while, and there's been expanded federal funding, for, education that's been going on since the 1800s. There was an Office of Education in 1868, but in October 1979, Congress passed the Department of Education Organization Act, Public Law 96-88, created by combining offices from several federal agencies. This department began operations in May 1980. let's see, in 1860s, a budget of 15,004 employees handled the education fact-finding. By 1965, the Office of Education had more than 2,100 employees and a budget of 1.5 billion. As of mid-2010, the department has nearly 4,300 employees and a budget of about 60 billion. So, but again, it was Congress passed the Department of Education Organization Act. So if Congress passed a law creating the Department of Education, how the hell is Donald Trump going to nix the Department of Education? I guess we'll have to see what he does, and we'll have to see what court challenges happen because of it, and so on and so forth. So, let's see. I am Antifa. This is the stuff that should have came up in 2021. If everyone would have turned into the fire alarm, Biden would have no choice then to be the firefighter reelected instead of kicking the can. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, politicians are going to politic, and they're going to unfortunately sometimes wait to do certain things until, let's do it around election time. But then, but again, Biden has done a lot of things during the administration. I mean, but Donald Trump has been able to effectively convince the rubes and the know nothings and anybody else that who voted for him that he somehow was going to be good in the economy. That the Biden economy is somehow bad, even though the Biden economy is better than many in the world. Our inflation rates have been significantly lower than all the other ones. So a lot of the other industrial countries. So, but the fact that he was able to fool people into thinking that, he was going to be the one that fixed things, Biden's already fixing them. But people's feelings don't care about facts. So, see, I am trying to find this link on this page. There we go. There's the link that I wanted to find. Let's just continue with Google. Maybe that'll work, or do I have to do it this way? I don't know. Anyway, but I don't need it now because I have the page, so therefore, let's flip over to the Reddit page. I got this from Evie Winters' page. Evie Winters is a trans activist who I've had on the show several times and hope to have her back sometime soon. Let's see. So JB Thinking on Twitter, I guess. Not so fast, maggots. Something is a brewing. Very strange statements from Trump and Elon have fueled doubts about election integrity. You can just change one line. Elon stated about the code on electronic voting machines. I don't need more votes. I already have votes. Trump stated repeatedly, so why not take a look? Senators in 6 swing states won. However, Kamala lost all 6. There needs to be a forensic investigation immediately, because again, that's actually another one that I was looking at. Arizona, another example of sexism. Vice President Harris, 476,000 votes as compared to the Senate, 494,000 votes. So the difference is not as big as the other states, but still, the male candidate outdid the woman candidate in New Mexico. Now Harris did win New Mexico, so it's not as big of a problem as it is in other places, but still, he outperformed her. Why? Again, I'm suggesting that it was because, man. But there's more information on this thing that I think bears looking at. An undervote is a ballot that has a vote for POTUS, but the rest of the ballot is blank. Trump's margin in every swing state appears to be based entirely on undervotes. That's not just weird, it's utterly implausible. Someone says, I'm here today that Elon's software Starship is the software that handled all the swing state ballots. If indeed this is true, it's clearly a conflict of interest and another reason why swing states need investigations. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if Elon's software Starship is the software that handled all the swing state ballots. That would have to be something that we would look up. But again, if it's true, yes, there should be some sort of at least random polling. Thoughts from Cerebro on Twitter. I hold an MA degree in political science. I don't understand these results. I don't pretend to. I'm not into conspiracy, but I'd like to know, did millions across Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan really split their vote? Did millions of Dem voters really stay home? Cookie TPA. I hold a master's in political science with a minor in statistics. I can't make sense of this. Human nature had to completely upend itself for this to happen. Swing states voting straight blue down the ballot except for the top. Nah, that's not what people do. Misinformed views on immigration, crime, and the economy correlated with ballot choice. Accordingly, violent crime rates are at an all-time near highs in most major American cities. That's a false statement. The people who responded correctly to it said voted for Democrats more likely, and then the people that didn't correct it, 26. Inflation in the U.S. has declined over the last year and is near historic averages. True. People who knew that was true voted Democrat plus 53. People who know it was false voted Republican plus 19, or who didn't know it was, who believed it was false, again, voted Republican plus 19. The stock market is at all-time highs. It's a true statement. People who knew it was a true statement voted Democrats plus 20. People who didn't believe it was a true statement voted Republicans plus 9. Over the last few months, unauthorized border crossings in the U.S. border at the U.S.-Mexico border are at the lowest level in the last few years. True. People that know that was true voted for Democrats 59% plus. People who don't know that was true voted for Republicans plus 17. Let's see. Stephen, I might have to expand this a bit because this is a little... All right, so Stephen Spoonamore. So if you care, I've been a leader in hacking and counter-hacking for 25 years. I'm well paid for it. The 2024 election was hacked at the tabulation level. Long thread on it. I continue to work professionally finding hackers and fairly often develop and install hacks designed to ferret out misuse of systems. My customers have included numerous governments and F100 firms. I wrote risk assessments of smart grid technologies for Obama and IP e-protection for GE. Here's what you were seeing. The tabulation systems at the county level were hacked far in advance of the election. The hack was probably written into the code even before the code was installed. Then when it will then have a when function and an if then function to have the machine force balance to a given outcome within a specific window of time. You could test the machine thousands of times before election night and the result would be correct. If you run it during the time window, the force balancing will be turned on regardless of inputs. You get a programmed output. It's very simple to prove this. Take the two most outlandish precinct results from any county and just hand count the ballots. They won't match the tabulation outputs. From what I'm seeing, you will find an 8 to 11% average shift from Democrat to Republican in the current totals. Be sure to check heavy red areas, easier to cover up. A run-up of the score. That is how it was done in Ohio versus Kerry. GOP flips in already highly red areas. Now, why the bomb threats? They were not for hacker access. The programming was already in place. They were to break the chain of custody and produce illegal grounds to not trust. A recount. Every place that got a bomb threat is a place that courts will now have to consider the factual argument of whether the ballots could have been tampered with while the evacuations were going on. They weren't, but that's the argument the GOP will make to prevent recounts. I used to appear on Lou Dobbs' TV show back when he was at CNN to discuss hacking of voting machines. I helped get machines into researchers' hands. Every single one of them were shocked and horrified at how simple hacking the machines was, but somehow the public has refused to engage. Now that a full-blown fascist takeover is underway and they did it by hacking the tabulation machines as described, please engage. I will lend any expertise if asked, but be aware these people are sociopaths who will kill you. They have done so to others, so act accordingly. And it was relatively easy, perhaps 300 to 500 tabulators of 3 types with 24 plus months of prep time. You saw 3,000 comms devices and 4 plus types hacked with software and installed explosives. These were set off in waves at specific times to destroy Hamas. Same thing here. My personal record, a team of 4, 11 months total operation time. We hacked 500 point-of-sale credit card machines to install added tracking software, allowing the units to work correctly, while also creating traces to catch credit card money laundering, which the retailer was in on. Same thing as election 2024. And finally, let me say again, this is a simple and stupid, easy to prove hacked. Hand count most suspected 2 precincts in every county. They won't match, and for what it's worth, I'm currently working on a much larger hack in a scale that much better executed. This election hack is just about political will. That's way... I've sent this info to a number of journalists, Mark Elias, Sean Fetterman, Lawrence O'Donnell, Rachel Maddow, other hopes that it was real. It's a serious matter that can be investigated. And if it is real, I don't trust Lawrence O'Donnell to do anything about it, because Lawrence O'Donnell has some false beliefs that he grabs onto. Um, Dear Pennsylvania, Governor of Pennsylvania Josh Shapiro et al. This is a formal duty to warn letter per DNI, blah, 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 to all agencies, contractors associated with intelligence, financial agency technologies. I have a duty to warn of suspicious hacking and have done so for my customers, including government agencies, Department of Defense, F-100 firms, numerous banks. I do so here as an affected voter. Nearly all my investigations began for one of two reasons. The hackers made a mistake, triggering a system issue, and or aggregate effects of the hacking creates results outside of normal expectations. There is a third and less common flag, an unrelated distraction to draw away from the hacking. All three of these indicators are present in the election of November 5th, 2024. Element 3, distraction via bomb threats, is confirmed coming from Russian agencies. Element 1 is the inexplicable mismatch of reported votes versus voter turnout here in Center County. Initial tabulation was absurdly low. 67,000 votes and over 80,000 votes participated. Element 2 is also present. Our local scanner systems worked in testing, but we were unable to communicate properly with tabulation systems after the bomb scare. I know from experience the failure of scanning systems to properly load a database in this extremely common development, which the system is changed without notice to the users. I've personally worked on similar issues where sudden scanner configuration failures were the first symptom of a system hacking. With three elements present, I immediately suggest doing a relatively simple set of preliminary checks. First, randomly selected precincts require manual comparisons of the number of voters who took ballots to the versus scanned output of the votes total. Those did not match here in Center County by approximately 13,000 votes. Once added, those votes subsequently changed outcomes and led to the outright reversals of multiple Center County races. Center County BOE now shows vote totals over 80,000 votes, 6% of 2020 turnout. In my professional opinion, every county in Pennsylvania, as well as many in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Georgia, currently are reporting lower vote totals versus 2020 and or experienced a distraction bomb threat, should undertake the same process. My professional opinion is many thousands of voters are being disenfranchised, likely by a malicious actor via errors in tabulation software. My concern has been proven correct and warranted here in Center County, Pennsylvania. So, again, I don't know if everything that what he's saying there is true, but as a software developer by trade, I absolutely believe that it is very well possible that to do this. There was somebody who was calling in and complaining about the idea of hacking the election, and all you have to do is get to the machine and hack it immediately. I'm like, no, that's not true at all. I was going to call in and tell the show, but I never got through, that you could hack the machine 6 months in advance. And then all you'd have to do, just what he said, all you have to do is put a little if statement. If the date is such and such, then swap the vote. So it wouldn't show up in normal testing, but it would, but the results would still be changed. And again, do we know if Elon Musk's, Musk's software in voting machines? Let's see. Was he explained the conspiracy theory surrounding Elon Musk's Starlink hacking the 2024 U.S. election? This is from firstpost.com or whatever. So I don't think he said Starlink. I think he said something else. But, it is what it is. Anyway. There's a lot of stuff that's too hinky there that I think definitely warrants at least a hand recount of several of these precincts. And, if it's proven true, then more needs to be done. But anyway, let's go back to the chat and see what I've missed. Let's see. See, unless they expand the SCOTUS, I don't think any of us here will see it. Not shitty. True. Trump's full of BS. True. Was Spelling's chair of Department of Education because of her name? I'm not sure. I'm one of the followers on Blue Sky. Let's see. Blue. Once the hackers got access, everything should have changed in all the machines. Potentially, but again, if the code is date based, if it's this date or this date range, change the votes. Otherwise, count the votes correctly. Then you can't tell. Unless you did a line by line code check and be like, oh, this code was not supposed to be in here. But again, the conservatives don't trust the voting machines when they lose, but they automatically trust the voting machines when they win. I've been saying for years that we should have electronic voting machines, as somebody said, with paper ballots. And if we don't have electronic and or with paper receipts, so you can vote, you could check your receipt, and then you could put that receipt in a little hopper related to the voting machine, so that the voting machine has this hopper next to it, and be like, okay, let's do some checking of the list. Let's check the hopper count with the machine count. You check those two together. Do they match? Yes. These conservatives, like Jeff Carrera types, want to only go to a strictly paper ballots. You know what the problem with strict paper balloting is? You just throw them away. What would stop conservatives from throwing away Democratic ballots that were received? Nothing. If ballots showed up as being voting for more Democrats than Republicans, just toss them. Who would know? They might show a discrepancy in votes cast versus people who showed up, but then again, they don't care. They're more than happy to cheat in systems because every conservative accusation is a confession. My dog is barking downstairs, and if he freaking poops on the floor again, I swear to God. Let me mute a second. Anyway. So yeah, freaking hate conspiracy theories is basically a way to earn money for lying. Now you see it with religion, First Amendment honors, flat earthism demeans every one of us. And I typically don't try and follow conspiracy theories because a lot of them are full of BS. Problem is that this is plausible, so therefore and easy to check. Lots of weed talk. Let's see. The fact that Biden acted so nonchalant about everything told me something was up. He just won't come forward until they got all the answers and ready to arrest all involved. I don't know how he's acting nonchalant. I think part of the problem that people have with Biden is the fact that he didn't act like Trump. That people were used to 4 years of Donald Trump, doing everything out in the open, out in the public. Making a big spectacle out of everything. Biden wanted to do things quietly. Like when he had to make the deal with not the deal, but when they forced the rail workers to go back to work and the rail workers didn't get everything that they wanted, Biden still worked behind the scenes quietly to make sure that they got their deal done. And then it was announced and everyone was like, oh, cool. Because Biden doesn't do things out in public like Trump did. When Biden was trying to convince Benjamin Netanyahu to not be such a shitbag in Israel when dealing with Hamas and with the murdering of innocent Palestinians, everyone was like, why isn't Biden saying anything? Well, it turned out Biden and the Biden administration was working behind the scenes to try and get stuff done. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu is a piece of crap, and as such, that wasn't going to work. But still, it still wouldn't have been effective still would have been effective still would have been just as effective if he would have done it out in the open like Trump did. But maybe it would have made these people feel better about themselves. Oh, at least he's saying it. Well, meaningless words don't mean anything. That's why they're meaningless. So, see, they screamed about fuckery when maggots said to because they fear the violence. They won with threats, but when we claim fuckery, nothing. Exactly. And they don't care if they won by fuckery because they think that, I guess they probably figured that since they think we cheated in 2020, they don't have a problem with cheating in 2024. Simple as that. But, again, Democrats do need to grow more of a spine to push back against these idiots. Let's see. Everyone except Maddow sane-washed this illiterate dementia patient. Well, I don't think I sane-washed him at all. But yeah, I do agree with you that but again, they also, not only did they sane-wash him, they also just kind of just shrugged it off as, oh, that's just Trump being Trump. While Harris was required to be perfect, Trump was allowed to be a shitbag because we know Trump's a shitbag, so therefore nobody expects him to be anything but a shitbag. And they're like, well, the conservatives who know he's a shitbag are like, but he's our shitbag, so we love him. Hey, Marie, good to see you. Oh, the hackers got access in Colorado in 2021. I'm saying it should have been worked on then. Sure. See, VA has paper ballots with tabulators. We only had one pure computer votes for one cycle and booted them. But yeah, that's the problem. The paper ballots with tabulators are the issue that this person was talking about on the in the post on Reddit, because it was the tabulators that had the hack in them, even though you had the paper ballots. So all you have to do is compare the paper ballots to the tabulators. So if we can see it was rigged, the Dem leadership does too. It needs to be open. It needs to be in the open now. Agreed. Maybe not nonchalant, but congratulations to Trump after calling him a threat for so long. Biden is a statesperson, and he doesn't want to be seen as anything but a statesperson. So he's going to set. He believes that he can set the example, and as such, make things better. Unfortunately, the many people have already have the example set for them, and they like that example, which is the example of President Trump. So, see, oh man, I just got to the last of the homemade wild cherry root beer wine. That's interesting. As a kimchi, misogyny, and racism is a cancer that will let spread. It's too late now. It has spread way too far, and that's what causes the Nick Fuenteses of the world to do what he did. And the only way to fight back against that is to do that public doxing of him. I don't necessarily agree with doxing most times, but at the end of the day, you know, if Nick Fuentes is going to make those crappy comments and his followers will then do the same and be a bully, well then guess what? They're going to be a bully, and bullies need to be handled not with kid gloves but with boxing gloves or worse. And as we see today, we had lots of trolls coming in today simply with something dash bully. They knew what they were doing. They were coming in to bully people. You know, they wanted to claim TV2 Live was a MAGA station, which clearly they're not. They wanted to say all sorts of BS about my show, whatever, and the Mod Squad acted quickly to squash them. But, you know, that's what they're going to do. And they feel empowered to bully people because the bully in chief won. His other bullies are following in their bullying ways, and when you're emboldened by the anonymity of the internet, you feel like you're untouchable. But as Nick Fuentes found out, not so much. So, yeah, kimchi, do unto others as they would do unto you. Kimchi. I'm gonna just say that's a kimchi quote from now. No one else said it. It's just kimchi. Yeah, one would hope that people would live like that. I'm trying to teach my kids to live like that. Unfortunately, there are many people who don't teach their kids like that. They set the example of treating other people shittily and then complaining when they get shit upon themselves. P-dubs, do we have a plan? I feel the tension there. I mean, I don't know what the plan would be. I mean, certain things should be done by either the Harris campaign or the DNC when it comes to trying to force recounts in certain areas to just check and see if there was an issue or not. But generally speaking, we all just got to make sure that, we have to protect the people who need protecting. We need to not cooperate with fascists, and we have to stand up and fight and resist in the ways that we all can. Like, I don't think I'm somebody who's good resisting on, like, with a march, because my knees freaking hurt, especially after changing that toilet all weekend. But, my obesity has caused my knees to not feel well and not be able to handle long bouts of walking. But I can sit here and I can share why all the ways that Donald Trump is a hypocrite and all the things that he's doing. We'll do deep dives on laws. We'll do deep dives on executive orders. We'll do deep dives on Supreme Court rulings, and we'll try and educate as many people as possible so that they can fight back against the BS. So, let's see. Northern New Mexico is blue, southern New Mexico is red. I'm a blue dot in southern New Mexico. That's kind of like us. Louisiana is mostly red, but we have pockets of blue, like New Orleans. Fortunately, I live in New Orleans, but I think I live in a more conservative area of New Orleans. But again, I didn't see that many Trump signs this time, but for some reason, still is popular. Trump is like Commodus from Gladiator. He knows the mob. Conjure magic for them and they'll be distracted. Ooh, that's what we should do. Magic. So, anyway. It's about 9:30. I have some stuff that I have to do tonight work related. I need to make sure that I actually yesterday, whilst walking through my house, I stepped on something barefoot and cut my foot. So I need to make sure that I can get my wound healed and cleaned and put some more medicine on it to make sure that I'm not getting an infection. I think, let me just, do I have anything else that I wanted to bring up today? We brought up, was the election stolen? We questioned how the Department of Education can be nixed. Talked about how the new border czar is a Project 2025 collaborator. Talked about New Jersey congressperson and the New Mexico Senate race. Talked about Nick Fuentes. Talked about the regulations being stupid with the Costco milk recall. And, of course, the Hasbro Wicked silliness that went on. Surrender Monkey, could you send Trump and Vance on a diplomatic mission to Russia before the election and just revoke his passport out of the country? That would be humorous. A final rant. I don't know if I have a final rant in me at this point. It shouldn't be this difficult. It shouldn't be this difficult to navigate the healthcare system, is what I'm going to say. Simply because of the fact that, my doctor prescribed me like increasing doses of Zepbound. Like this month, I'm on 5 milligrams. Next month, 7.5. Next month, 10. Next month, 12.5, or what have you. And I have to do that. And every time I have to get those filled, I need a new prior authorization. It's ridiculous that we have to navigate that crap. We don't mess with wounds on your feet. That's how my boyfriend lost his leg. That's one of the exact reasons why I'm making sure that we keep this clean and not infected. So, right, I said Nick Fuentes, I could do that a few times. Well, I mean, I'd already had my little Nick Fuentes rant about him being a bully and a coward, and as soon as he was threatened by women, even though he made a misogynistic post about your body, my choice, he then ran back to who? His mother, and is now apparently living at his mom's house because he's scared of the women. Apparently he supposedly pepper sprayed somebody who knocked on his door or whatever. But you know what? He's in the find out stage of F around and find out. So, and I think a lot more people are going to be finding out very soon. The people who voted for Trump, like who are Latinas, people who are minorities, other oppressed communities, the Muslims in Dearborn who all voted for Trump, or who many of them voted for Trump, more than you would think would want to vote for Trump, when they start seeing Donald Trump encouraging Netanyahu to flatten and raise Gaza so that he can build Trump Med on the Mediterranean Sea in Gaza, and what would then be known as the former Gaza, then those people are gonna be crying and repenting and saying mea culpa and giving apologies, and we're just gonna be singing the "Leopard Eat My Face" song. The "I never thought that a leopard would eat my face." You play around with leopards, leopard might eat your face. So, anywho, this is the end of today's episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left this night. I will be on tomorrow night for my Nerdy Dan stream, probably around 8 p.m. Central as well. Maybe a little earlier, we'll see. Follow me over at twitch.tv/nerdydan.com, and you'll be able to get notified whenever it is I do go live there. We'll be back Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. Central, with here at liberaldanradio.com, and twitch.tv/liberaldanradio as well. Please remember to go comment on videos, like, subscribe, share, do all that other stuff. Encourage your friends to subscribe as well. Until next time, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.